I don't know. The lighting isn't great because I've had to pull the blinds because it is so sunny, but I wanted to touch base with everyone because my darling little Lincoln was born on the 15th of July 2025. He is here. We're now currently on the 11th of August, so he is nearly on the 11th of August. Yes, I think we are. But he is nearly a month old, which is crazy to me. He's a month old tomorrow, which is crazy. On Tuesday he'll be a month old. He was born on a Tuesday at 6:09 in the morning, and I thought, if you can hear him, it's he probably will want to get up soon. I've literally just laid him down. He was on me for some time and I thought, no, I'm gonna lay you down, but he will probably want another feed because he didn't drink no, if he only had 30 ml. Are you awake? So yeah. Open up. Just got it down me. Right, he's feeding. So, what was I talking about? So yes, he came 3 weeks early. So it was funny. On the, it would have been the 14th, I went for a midwife appointment at my GP, and I said to my midwife I'd been experiencing maybe those few days that he was gonna come early, like I just having these body symptoms. If anyone knows me, I'm very in touch with my body. Like I know my body so well. Yeah, and I just said to her, I just feel something's gonna happen soon. So I went home that day, and at night I remember saying to Marcus, I was just not, I wasn't, what's it called? I was quite restless. So I remember saying to Marcus, oh, I've got a bit of cramp, but don't worry, go back to sleep, I'll be okay. And then I was like, no, the pain was different. It was like radiating from my back to my front, and I was like, no. And then I went to the bathroom, kept needing a wee, and then I noticed my mucus plug, and like your mucus plug can go once, like, and it can all go, but mine was repeatedly going, and I was like, I think it went like 3 times. And then that's when, if you can hear anything, that is him feeding. But, and then I said to Marcus, no, I'm in labour. Definitely felt I was in labour. And the contractions had been happening, and I was like, right, they are definitely contractions. They are not anything I'd experienced before. And yeah, so we called triage. I was texting my mom like, do you think this is it? She was like, no, that is it, you're in labour. And at this point it was probably about 4 in the morning maybe, and triage said to me, oh, take your time, just come in, take your time. And then I was taking my time because they were like every 10 minutes, but then all of a sudden they were every 4 minutes, and I started to get a little bit panicked because, if you didn't know, I was booked in the following week for a scheduled C-section. So I was booked in on the 24th for a scheduled C-section, and this was the 15th. And I was just like, this, I kind of knew, I was like, in my heart, I was like, I'm not going to make it to the 24th, I'm not going to make it to that C-section, he's going to come earlier than that. So yeah, I said to Marcus, no, we need to hurry up a bit more. These are every 4 minutes. I'm concerned because I don't, because of the position he was in and what I was in, there was no way at that point I was going to be mentally okay or physically okay to go for a natural birth. I was like, we need to go because I need a C-section, because I'd been told, you know, for a C-section you don't want to be too dilated, because sometimes they can say you're gonna have to do it naturally if he's too far down like the birth canal. And I was like, no, we need to go. Shoved Jaffa in the car because we knew if we left her, she would scream, because it was like 4 a.m, it was still dark, she would not be happy. So shoved her in the car with me and Marcus, got everything. We just went to the hospital, and we then got her picked up from the hospital, which was fine. We had a lot of friends on hand because we'd organised a few people to be around. So I actually felt a lot calmer as well once Jaffa was like up with our friends Jess and Henry, because I knew then she was like happy and safe and things like that. But we got into hospital, and they immediately take me into a room, and they were like, you're actually the only one on triage at the moment. I was like, oh, that's kind of probably good, because they were quick. So I was in triage for literally a matter of seconds. I was on the bed, they were like, we're going to examine you. I was already 5 centimetres dilated. My contractions started at 2-3. And there's this point, it was probably about 4 a.m. Oh no. Hold on, don't get angry. Right, anyway, back in. So I was 5 centimetres dilated, and I was shocked. Me and Marcus looked at each other and were like, oh my god. I expected them to say 2 or 3. And I remember texting my brother, and I was like, the contractions are interesting. And he was like, he just said to me these words, Tia, when you get one, breathe through it. Like, just breathe through it. And I was like, okay. And it was just those words that every time I got a contraction, I could literally just breathe through them. I weren't phased by them, which was crazy to me. Everyone's so different as well. Like, I think I was just lucky. But I'm really good at quite dissociating with pain. Take that how you will, but it can become very much in handy, but then it can obviously be very bad. So yeah, I was very just good at dissociating from the pain and breathe through them. So then I was transferred to the actual delivery suite if I was going to naturally give birth. But they knew I was scheduled for a C-section. I had all my notes, and then the doctor came in like within seconds. They were getting do you know the it's the do you know when you have that horrible thing that sticks in you for hours? I can't remember what it's called, but I have to get it up. I'll have to write it on the screen. But where the first time the nurse tried to get it in, she basically, was it like when you like basically rupture a vein or something, where she's tried to get it in my hand and it's not gone well. So then the doctor came in a bit later, and she got it in a different way, very easily, and it was fine. Come on. Okay. She got it in like straight away, and then she was talking me through a lot of the stuff. I was panicked because I was like, am I going to be able to still have a C-section from 5 centimetres? Obviously by that point I was probably a bit more. And she was like, no, absolutely fine, like you'll be fine, I'll get this baby out in 3 minutes. So I was like, oh, okay. She was really nice about it. Obviously there was obviously a lot of serious talk, a lot of signing and things like that, but then we were like laughing and joking, which was nice. I was at this point very, very nervous because I don't know, like it was probably about, once I was speaking with the doctor, it's probably about 5 a.m, like daylight was coming up, And it was more, I was nervous that this was going to happen now. I was about to meet my baby and I was about to go down for a C-section, and it was just happening. And I think I was more nervous because it just happened sooner than I thought. I'd had 1 day off maternity leave, so I went off on the Friday. I'm not even counting the weekend, I'm counting the Monday I had off, and then he came the Tuesday. So yeah, spoke to the doctor, everything was fine, and then went down to prep for the C-section. It was very quick. I was literally in at 4, he was delivered at 9 minutes past 6. It was a very quick turnaround. I was very lucky, and I think that was because I was actually the only one in that night. How crazy is that? I was the only one until a bit later. And then, whoa, mister. Yeah. And I would say the scariest bit for me was the big fat needle that goes into your back to numb you from your chest down. So yeah, that was weird. That hurt. There's no other way to describe it. It hurt. And that was, but after that actually made my waters break. That did make my waters break, I think. I said, oh, I feel like my waters are broken, and they were like, oh, sometimes it gives you a sensation that you have, but I just felt like they had broke, because they kept saying to me like they were bulging. But then I was checked again, how dilated I was, and I was 8 centimeters. So I got in at 4 and I was 5 centimeters. By 6 I was 8 centimeters dilated. Either 8 or 9, can't remember what they said. But I sitting then was panicking, and I was like, I can still have this procedure, right? The doctor was like, yeah, I will get this baby out within 3 minutes. And that's what she said again. I was like, okay. But then the Miss Midwife really threw me. She was like, you could just do this naturally. You've literally dilated so quickly, you could do it naturally. And that really threw me. And I think that was an unfair thing to say while I had been numbed and I was lying down on the bed about to be cut open. And it threw me, and I turned to Marcus and was like, am I doing and then it made me question everything, like, are we doing the right thing? But then the doctor actually was really good. She stepped in and said, no, we have to do it this way, it's too late, we have to. She goes, I can't support you delivering this baby now. And also, it was very lucky she stepped in, because it was the right decision. So she did get baby Lincoln out within like seconds, it felt. And she showed me him, which was a delight when they like come out like straight away. I was like, whoa. And it was a crazy feeling when he was out. And he was 8 pounds 4, and his hands were actually up against his face. So actually, it was very lucky that I didn't then change my mind, even though I felt like I couldn't anyway. The doctor was not recommending it at all, because I feel like I would have definitely had quite a big hemorrhage because his hands were up on his face. So getting a head out with the hands, it wouldn't have happened. So I think it would have ended up in an emergency C-section anyway. But he was born and he was fine, and he did his first poo like immediately, and Marcus got to have like contact, like skin contact straight away, and then I got it, which I was happy about because I really wanted them on me. And then like that, the doctor and I think it was the anaesthetist had to leave quite quickly because there was an emergency that came in. I remember saying go, because I was like not an emergency. I just wanted them to go so they could tend to this other person that had come in as an emergency. And then I was just like that transferred through to the recovery bit, and that's when I started to feel quite sick. But they gave me anti-sickness which went straight into my blood system, and I was like fine within seconds. And I had Lincoln on me, and it was just crazy lying there with Lincoln in my arms, Marcus by my side, knowing that our lives had changed forever. And he was perfect. He is perfect. And There was some there was the couple that was the emergency that came through, and she'd been put to sleep for an emergency C-section, and I remember the conversation the doctor was having with her, and like she ended up, when the doctor left, like she was breaking down crying. It was just like such a bittersweet moment. Like we were sat there, our hearts so full, and they were sat there, their hearts broken, and it was a horrible feeling at that point. But then we got transferred up to the ward, and it was probably about 7-8 in the morning by that time, and midwives were on hand like to get the colostrum, I think that's what it's called, out, and helped me like with breastfeeding and nursing and like stimulating my breasts. He did have a bottle while we were there. I think he had 2, because I didn't have a lot of colostrum to give, and that I got what I could, but also my milk hadn't obviously come in then either. But recovery was good. Like I felt obviously really like it was weird sensation. Like it was nice to get the feeling back, and then I think it was 6 hours to pass urine, and it had to be a certain amount. And I remember it coming up to the 6 hours, and they literally said to me, if you don't pass urine soon, we're gonna have to put the catheter back in, and you're gonna have to be back in you're gonna have to have it in for 24 hours. And I was like, that's gonna make me wee. I remember my dad was coming in, and I said, bring as much water as you can, and he did. I was like down in this drink, and that made me wee. It was just a weird feeling, and that was fine. And then my mum and dad, brother were there. Like they were there quite soon. I think they got there for literally just visiting starting. I think it was at 12, and that's when they got there. That was lovely. Brandon meeting Lincoln, and my mum meeting Lincoln, and then my dad came later, and that was lovely. And then I was put into my own room, because I was like, within my plan, I was into an own room with an ensuite, which I was very grateful for. And I feel like that really helped with a semi-decent night's sleep, because although you could hear other children crying, I think if we were on the ward, I think Lincoln would have been quite disturbed, and he actually slept really well the first night. He didn't really cry at all. So that was that. I would say overall my experience was really positive. There were areas where I think that could have been better. Like I found that because I wanted to breastfeed so much, I found that I think certain midwives could have been better. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I was only in for 24 hours, which I felt really good for, and then I went home, and my mum stayed with us for the first week, which was such like life-saving. She really, really helped, especially like me and Marcus are new, we don't really know what we're doing, and she was just really helpful with like getting into a bit of a routine. Bless her, she helped cook and clean and just made things so easy that when she went, I was like crying, because I was like, oh no. And it was weird. It was like me and Marcus, and we were like, we're gonna have to do it ourselves because this is our child. And then it was fine. It's been great. He's been great. He's good. He's thriving, which is all we want. He's very loves to be like stimulated. So like we've got like these black and white cards, and we do like that sort of do the stimulation with him when he's awake. He also likes tummy time, so we've been doing that with him. He's quite strong actually. The one thing I would say that I will talk about in this vlog, and then I'll probably wrap it up because it's going to be quite long, but I will talk about my breastfeeding journey, which was very short-lived. So I was adamant, absolutely adamant, that I was breastfeeding. That's all I wanted to do. In my head I was like, he will be breastfed, like that's what I wanted, and I would pump alongside. He wasn't great at latching immediately, really. He just wasn't great at latching, and my breast also, he had to do a lot of work basically, and I don't think he liked that, and it was just, yeah. So I actually had, in the end, I went to 3 feeding consultations with midwives who were amazing, like really good at getting him latched and things like that. But he's a very angry baby when he didn't get his milk straight away. So when I was trying to latch him a lot, he was so angry, he just wouldn't latch. He'd get so distressed, and I was like, no, we're going to keep doing it, we're going to keep trying to do it. And in the end he would latch, and then I would pump as well, and then he lost 9% of his weight. So they were like, make sure you're topping him up. If that's not with your breast pumped milk, then you need to do it with formula. So that's when the formula came in, and then it kind of from there went more south. I started not to feel well within, I think after my mum went. So I was well for a week, and then after my mum went, I was not well. I started to feel very, very feverish, flu-like, and I was like, what is this? I was sweating. I was sweating that much that I think I sweat a stone out of me, but I was sweating. And I remember Marcus had contacted my midwife, and my midwife was like going through these questions. She was like, I think it's this, but some of the symptoms haven't been displayed. So when she came and actually examined me, it turned out that I had mastitis in the breast, which is basically your breast getting gorged, which leads to an infection. And I'd got that infection basically, and I was then put on antibiotics. That antibiotics did not work. I was very unwell for 10 days after that, and then I was like, there's something more to this. I don't feel like I've just got mastitis. I think I've got thrush in the breast, which is an infection in your milk. And I was like, I just feel like I have both things, because the pain was insane. And even though I was on antibiotics for mastitis, I was in incredible pain. I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, like didn't want to let go of my breast. I was in that much pain. And then also at one point I saw spots in Lincoln's mouth, and I was like, I think he's got the infection too. So we go to the doctors. I went on my own first, and she did my temperature. She was like, no, you've got mastitis. And then she also took a sample of my breast milk. And at that point, I was basically over breastfeeding. I couldn't do it. I had laceration on both nipples constantly, and I was just too unwell. In the period of when I had mastitis, I couldn't even hold him. I was so unwell that I was literally in bed. Marcus was a saint and literally did everything. I was in bed for constantly, not lying on the sofa. So in that time, he had to be formula fed, which was quite lucky, because it turned out I did have an infection in my milk, which was not good. And then it also turned out that I did have thrush. So I was then being treated for that, and so was Lincoln, because he did have it in his mouth. So he's on medication for that as well. And all in all, I breastfed for 2 weeks, and I was gutted. My pumped milk as well now has to be thrown away because of the doses of antibiotics I'm on, because I needed quite a high doses to try and get rid of this infection. I'm actually on my last day as well, and I'm pretty sure the infection hasn't gone. Still got residue, and like I can tell on my breast it's not gone as well. So that's that. But that's my journey around breastfeeding. It didn't go to plan at all. It's actually taken a lot for me to accept the journey's over, and it is because I've also got infections in my milk as well, so I couldn't give that to Lincoln. And I'm also now on like a really high dosage of antibiotics, so yeah, it's just been really hard to accept that I couldn't breastfeed for the 6 months that I wanted to. Part of me is like, it wasn't meant to be. Maybe things happen for a reason, and yeah, but he is thriving. He has gained a lot of weight now, which is brilliant. He went back up to birth weight, and then he went over birth weight, so we're doing really, really well. He is everything and more, perfection. He won't be shown, I don't think, on my social media. I have been going back and forth, but I don't think I want him shown on my YouTube channel at all. But yeah, that's just my sort of preference. And yeah, we're doing really, really, really well. I'm now nearly 4 weeks postpartum, and I can't wait to work out. I really can't. But yeah, I am probably just going to end the vlog here because I've been talking for so long. But I just wanted to check in and tell you that he has been born, and he's good, thriving, and I'm slowly on the mend as well. But yeah, I will see you all in the next vlog.